Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. Going to be a fun one, joined by a couple special guests here in Tim or Ash from AMG and Fateless, and then we've got Ben from A2Z. How we doing today, fellas?
Doing great,
Yo,
man.
yeah,
Glad
super
to be
happy to
here.
be here. Yeah, same here. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, for sure. So I think people familiar with the Fateless sphere probably have a pretty good idea of who Ash is here for the most part. So Ben, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself here and just kind of talk about your gaming life and what you do kind of in this industry and some of your journey and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. So I'm Ben. I'm working in the influencer marketing industry for the last 6 years. I started my first position was in Plarium. Probably some of the viewers know Raid Shadow Legends. So I managed the influencer marketing campaign for the game. This was back in 2019. We had some decent success, I would say, with the campaign. And after this, I had a feeling that I have the experience and what it takes to open a new agency that would be focusing on gaming and helping gaming companies to launch their campaigns. So I opened A2Z Influencers. We started from the agency side. And then about, I would say, 2 years ago, we started to manage exclusive talents. And now we're managing 50 plus exclusive talents. And then 6 months ago, I opened the second agency, which is focusing around filmmaking creators. There is a niche on YouTube, very interesting niche. I opened it with another content creator from this niche, very interesting. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Okay, cool. And did you have like a gaming career or anything? Did you ever do content? Were you ever super competitive in gaming or anything crazy like that?
Yeah, so unlike you, so I know that Ash started AMG from the talent manager side. I didn't have any experience in gaming and content creation. I was a gamer, a heavy gamer when I was a kid, right? When I was around 10, 11 years old. But then when the opportunity came along to join Plarium, then I came back to playing games pretty heavily. But no, content creation wise, nothing before.
Ben, what was your favorite game back in the day, man?
Oh my God, I would say Golden Axe.
Oh, nice. I like that. Like Sega Genesis or arcade.
Exactly. The arcade. Yeah.
I like
Super
that
cool
game too.
Yeah,
I like
super
that
cool
too.
game. Yeah.
Must be around the same age, man. I don't know.
Too old. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Too old.
Sounds like we are, yeah. Well, and then for anybody that's new around the Fateless scene, Tim, I'll let you really quickly kind of talk about you and what you're up to recently and all that good stuff.
Yeah, of course, man. Started covering games. Hey, Dirk, what's up, man? Started covering games about a decade ago. In the Supercell ecosystem. I was a gamer growing up, and I don't know. I started in my mid-30s, on YouTube, and I was like, how long am I going to be able to do this? Especially because then my audience was very young, comparatively. So I was like, I need to find, once I made the decision after a few years to go full-time and leave my career for content, I was like, I need to find something that's not just being in front of a camera all the time, because I'm not cool right now, but God knows how uncool I'll be in another 10 years. So thus was AMG. I started it with my co-founder about 5.5 years ago, and we just started by recruiting our friends. We were just a small little ragtag team of 3 staff, and now we're quite big, and we still have our agency, of course, and it's still a huge focus for us. But now we do a lot of production. We have 63 employees, and we do production and game launches and just full service needs, like a lot of managing creator programs. We work with Supercell, kind of where it all started for me, and other brands and stuff out there. And I'm sure we rep a lot of talent that you guys are familiar with, like Chosen, kinda in your semi-retirement, and Hades and Nubs and the rest of the crew, Darth and stuff like that. So it's been an awesome journey, and it's been but it's all testament to the team at AMG at this point. Less so yours truly, even though I'm involved in the day-to-day, but it's we've really lucked out, and I'm really grateful for having a bunch of awesome creators and a bunch of awesome staff, and Fateless right now as well.
Yeah,
So trying to wear as many hats as I can, but yeah, that's kind of my quick story.
Nice. Okay. And
Yep.
yeah, good to see you, Dirk. Thanks for popping in. We keep it casual and fun around here. Dirk wants to come hang out. That's great. So Tim, one of the things I always like to brag about is that I was one of the first people AMG signed. Like I don't know what the number is, second, third, fourth, fifth, but so yeah, me and you have quite the funny history of like
We do have a funny. Actually, this is a full circle moment right now because
right,
Ben
right.
Lee connected me with you.
Oh,
in
really?
2019. In 2019.
Yeah, okay.
Remember how we did a collab, a sponsor collab on my main channel back in the day? You know whose idea that was? Right there.
Oh, that is too funny. Okay, cool.
No. So okay, I will give the credit to Tim, right? So I think that Tim came up with the idea to host someone in a series of dedicated videos he will do for Raid in a different channel, right? In a Clash of Royal Clash channel. And then we suggested I recommended, I really, really liked you as a content creator. And I thought that you are very, very knowledgeable. And I thought that you will be a very good add to the series. But little did I know that you knew Tim, right?
Well, I knew Tim didn't know me, but I knew Tim. Because I played Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, and I had watched some of his content. I'd seen him just in the YouTube sphere. And then when they were like, hey, do you want to work with this guy who goes by Ash? I was like, oh, yeah, I've been watching his stuff. That'll be fun. So I knew Tim, but he didn't know me. And then we ended up meeting doing that. We did like a series of 5 videos, kind of walking Tim through the basics of Raid. And then he ended up getting into it.
And that all lines up exactly. So you're absolutely right, Chosen, because that all lines up with us starting AMG in early 2019. And that's when we did the collab, and you were one of our first talent. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, love it. And by the way, what's up, Dirk? How you doing? I want to give you a chance to kind of jump in and say hi. Thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, yeah, doing good. Yeah, sorry, I missed your message there, but doing great. I do want to say, I think when I got into Raid, Ash was my favorite content creator because he always did the funniest builds. He'd always try to take the heroes that I liked, where you're like, this guy doesn't seem great, but it seems like you could make him fun. And then I'd be like, has anyone else tried this? And the only one who ever did was always Ash.
That might be a backhanded compliment, Jerry. Like, he's the only one who tried to say these crappy champions are good. He's the only one. I'm flattered, man. Thank you.
I love it. Well, is there anything that you guys have learned, kind of being, because I've never been on that side of it, and I don't think Dirk has as well. Is there anything you kind of learned about the gaming industry or about this like mobile genre in general, being on the other side of it, like the business side of managing the connection between games and gamers and influencers and all that kind of stuff?
Ben, I'll let you go first, man.
Yeah, so I will start. First of all, there is a huge difference between doing the stuff from the brand side, right, from Plarium side, and then doing the same stuff from the agency side, right? So when I opened the agency, I thought, okay, I'm like a very good account manager. I know how to manage campaign. I know how to work with influencers. I will open the agency and boom, right? We will see the value in day one. But actually, like in real life, it's very, very hard. And it's even harder and more complicated when you're managing a lot of influencers, right? It's not super easy to manage 50 plus exclusive talents. I think this is the challenging part, the operational side and reaching out to clients. And I remember like the first time we signed like a client. Like the first client was easy, but the second client, when he signed with us, we were super happy because to convince someone that you are like super, super eligible and they trust you with their money, for us, it's like a huge gratitude. Tim, what do you think about it?
Yeah, man. I mean, the trust in this industry, the first thing that you're up against is trust, right? Like on both sides, there's so many bad actors, unfortunately, right? In this scene, like non-payments or taking more money than they should, or things falling through. And on every side, it feels like that I've noticed that most people come into relationships, unless you have the reputation already in the beginning, with a healthy level of skepticism, more than I see in other areas. So like part of it, to Ben Lee's point, is like you have to prove over time and working with somebody and developing a relationship that it especially if you don't have a strong recommendation, whether it's a talent side or on the client side, you have to prove that trust out, and that means for a guy like me, I like to go 100 miles per hour, pedal to the metal, and scale and do awesome, crazy stuff. But it means taking a more measured approach and proving in small campaigns or whatever, you know, proving the value out. So that's one big thing. And then from the client side of things, I'm not sure how much the viewers will be interested, but I'll be brief. But like on the client side of things, I used to think we just recruited a talent with who averages over 1 million views per video. You know, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. We're going to make them so much money, and thus AMG is going to grow and get more opportunities. And then I learned over time that, man, there's so much involved with being a good salesman in terms of the results that you're able to generate. So I used to think like, okay, this creator is big and they have a valuable audience. Like their audience has good demos, you know? And I used to think, well, there it is. That's the magic sauce. We're good. But I've learned that a small creator with mediocre demos, you know, like maybe they don't have the best regions or whatever, the most valuable from a client perspective, they can be way more effective than a 1 million view channel just based on the authenticity or the creativity, you know, the approach basically to you know, how they're going to sell a sponsorship or a brand deal or whatnot. So I think that getting a bit more creative and also not thinking so narrowly about the type of, you know, putting somebody in a box without knowing, you know, either way, pro or con. So like those are some of the learnings, and you're still learning every day, of course, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Something that would be funny to know is, you know, you guys work as kind of like a mediator between two different sides. Which side can be more of a pain in the ass to get on to like, is it the marketing like agencies, or is it the creators being high maintenance? Like which side can be more of a pain?
Ben?
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm happy to, go ahead.
No, so it's a very easy answer for me. So the sales process, as Tim mentioned, it's very, very, very hard, right? It's like all day, every day. You need to be on top of it. I actually I'm very, very passionate about talent management. I really like to manage talents, regardless if they are very small or very big. So anything they want, anything they ask, I have 100% patient for them. So I really like it. So for me, honestly, this is the honest truth. It's not a pain in the ass. I really, really like them, and I really like to see them grow, right? Like this is one of the most fulfilling objective in the position, right? Like to see a creator that grows from 1,000 views to around 20, 25, 30,000 views. Super happy about it.
Yeah, I guess my answer is maybe hedging a little bit on the fence, right? Like similar to Ben Lee, being a creator, coming up as a creator, that's what I love. You know, that's what I love, talking to other creators. I love meeting other creators. I love understanding where they're at and where they want to be and helping them get there. But the truth of the matter is like, there is no answer in terms of, oh, creators are more difficult or clients are more difficult. Like the real truth is that everybody's unique. You know, some clients are very easy to deal with, very, you know, they want to work with you. We're aligned on what we want the end goal to be, right? And they're very easy. They're flexible, you know, as long as they understand that and they trust that you understand what their goals are, right? And then talent, the vast majority are like great to work with. Sure, everybody's going to have bumps in the road, right? Everybody's going to say, hey, I want more deals, or hey, why is my like whatever may come as, you know, like my rate, I want my rate to change, or whatever it may be. Or back out of deals. Just like these things happen, right? Like emergencies happen, life happens, and it can be like messy at times, but ultimately 99% of creators are like a pleasure to work with as well, right? We've been around for a long time. We recruited like hundreds of creators over the years, and like once in a while, just like any job, right? You're just going to have someone who's just like a jerk or something, you know. It's like, it's happened a couple times, not a lot, you know, but, and the same thing on the client side. Like once in a while, you'll get somebody who's just like, wow, why are you acting like an adversary? You know, we're on the same team here, you know, but for the most part, you know, I think similar probably to Ben Lee too, is that if you treat people like with respect and kindness, and you kind of put out what you expect back and what what you want back, I think generally speaking, just like any other industry, most of the time it's a pretty smooth process, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And Dirk, I'll let you get in there and ask a question kind of in relation to Fateless and our game design and maybe some of the things we want to get done when we launch our game. Do you have anything kind of relates to like the influencer agency industry that you wanted to get out there and ask them?
Well, yeah, I know one big thing we want to do is like a and hopefully we'll grow this, but at least when we're getting close to launch, we want to have a tournament with content creators. Something I know, Brad, you played a lot of StarCraft, and I've always been in games that have big esports scenes, so that's always been, I don't know, one of my hobbies. I'm not a big like sports ball kind of guy, but I do love esports. And something I think that's sorely missing in this genre is esports. And not that it needs it, but I think if organically grown, it would, I would love to watch it. And I know like the only one I've seen so far to successfully pull it off is that Epic 7. They have Live Arena as like an esport. And I'm shocked Raid doesn't at all. But yeah, we want to have like a content creator tournament in our normalized PvP mode. And then I guess, that'd be cool to have that hosted or sponsored or anything like that. And then like potentially building up an esports community or scene, as the game goes on. So I'm not sure like what kind of support like AMG.
Yeah, Tim, you've actually done some of that stuff with like Supercell and
I feel like I'm on a pitch right now, fellas. Yeah, I mean, I think that I love events. The raid is cool because they have a lot of community-driven events. Like most of it is community-driven, whereas, like, with all due respect, we work with Plarium and they've been awesome to work with. Like since the Ben Lee days, but even more, more recently, right? And but I wish they would do more like high quality production or events where the stress and the burden isn't all on the creators, especially because they're not production experts. Of course, I know as a creator, there's a big difference between my webcam and my PC and all the moving parts and pieces that necessitate a high quality production, even online, and involving a lot of moving pieces, a lot of live streams, combining into one. So, yeah, I mean, I was just talking to the rest of some of the Fateless team this morning about a launch event, and I think that it would be so cool, right? We could have some organic like raid and Fateless crew, but then bring in a bunch of outsiders too, like a bunch of people that might have their genres, might have interest in the game as well. And for a game like this, I think that, I mean, gosh, Hellhades himself has done like 1 billion awesome competitions and tournaments. So like in a perfect world, there'd be an awesome launch event, just highlighting the game, describing the game, but then having fun with some familiar faces, right? But beyond that, I would love a regular cadence, maybe quarterly or something, Nothing has to be crazy, of events that maybe culminate in a end of year thing. Now, obviously, needs to make sense for the game, needs to have observer capabilities so that we can, like, instead of having everybody screens, like having a master observer would be great. But I love events, man. I saw the history of Clash of Clans esports, right? Which is a game that, maybe not a super similar genre to Raid, but in a lot of ways it is, a mobile, and you're building up your account and there's a paid component to it, right? And I saw them kind of, I don't want to say struggle, but like try a lot of different things along the way. And I feel like I've kind of learned from their learnings over the years as somebody who's been a participant and a host and sometimes and a caster in some events. So I think that kind of where they ended, kind of like community driven, but developer supported competitive events. In order to make that happen though, I think it's also important to like decide, can you operate this at scale, or is it more of a highlight thing of the world's best players or guest YouTubers? Or is it that any player can potentially get to the main stage, But anyway, I'm talking a lot, but like I love events, man. And I think that esports are cool, but they're also, just to be totally honest, I've seen them crash and burn in a lot of games too, So I kind of like a mix, right? A competitive community type thing vibe versus a like bring in the tier 1 esport orgs. But that's just my, my take.
Yeah, so I think that honestly, like one of the biggest mistakes of gaming companies, they're investing a lot of money in influencer marketing. But I think the balance between the effort they're putting into influencer marketing and the organic content creators, I think it's not there, right? Because the effort and the money they're putting into the organic content creator is almost zero in most cases. And we discussed Marvel Snap beforehand, right? So I think one thing they are doing very, very cool is they're arranging money rewards tournaments for the creators. Sometimes maybe it will be a good feature for you guys in Fateless. So sometimes they will add a brand to the tournament. So the tournament will be sponsored by a brand, and then they will give away $10,000 to the winner, something like this. And then everybody enjoys, right? Like the audience really like it, the brand got exposure, and the company get traction from the audience.
Do you guys think that maybe this stuff doesn't happen? Because, like, you know, me being in the raid scene daily for 5 years, I'm shocked that Plarium would never a single time like bring in a bunch of creators and have them like play PvP as some like marketing event where you get like the live reactions and people talking smack. Like, you would think they would just get endless footage that they could use for like, why don't they do that? There's got to be some reason. Is it just like, oh, it would cost $200,000 to fly everybody in and get them in hotels, and they just don't think they would get the return, or it's not worth the effort? Like, why doesn't stuff like that happen?
Ben Lee might have more firsthand knowledge, but I pitched them on those ideas. We've had discussions about it, and they've seemed interested. But like in my time working with Plarium, COVID happened, right? So that was a big, long gap of no live events, right? And I know they had planned something right before COVID. I don't know if it was like
I was actually part of that. I was supposed to go to the Ukraine, and then boom, COVID.
So and then since then, well, they're in Ukraine, the game team. So like that presents obviously. But anyway, I agree. I agree with Ben Lee. Everything you said. I mean, I think it's a missed opportunity. You know, like obviously I have my own point of view, but I agree, and I've seen a lot of developers excel in that. You know, Supercell is, I think they're amazing. You know, every new game launch, every big update, they fly in everybody, you know, historically, you know, and it is expensive, but I do think that the ROI shows. They have this massive, vibrant community that keeps the player base engaged, and from a business perspective, that keeps the player base spending, you know, and like increases their lifetime. So I don't know, that's my take.
Yeah, so I think the main word here is ROI, right? Because it's very easy to measure the ROI from the influencer marketing campaigns. It's not very easy, but it's fairly easy. And when you're arranging tournament for existing players, it's harder to measure the success, right, in terms of ROI again. So I think this is the main issue, but I think that the industry is slowly changing. And you can see more and more companies investing more and more money in the organic content creators. Hopefully it will get bigger and bigger, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that Plarium does a lot of things well. I think that they have one of the best, especially given the size. I think they have one of the best creator programs that I've been a part of. You know, a lot of information, a lot of quick access and availability on the community managers, and we have developer calls and stuff like that. You know, so they've added quite a bit throughout dev builds. Nice. They've added a lot, but I think that that's the one area that they're lacking is events and in like really putting some thought into the creativity of what they can do with the content creators. Because what I've seen I used to think back in the day when it's actually 10 years ago today that I joined the Supercell content creator program, right? And at that time it was a Skype group, but they flew us to Finland. There's probably like 20 of us, and they spent like a ton of money on us. I remember at the time, especially, I was like, did you see that tab at that restaurant? It was like 16,000 euro. And I just remember like, holy crap. And they flew us all first class. And I'm like, I remember thinking at the time, myopically, I feel like now in hindsight, I remember thinking like, this is the stupidest business decision ever. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they spending so much money on us? But now 10 years later, I see that anything happens in the Supercell games, they literally have different tiers in their creator program. But when you combine all the tiers, they have like over 100,000 creators, and let's just say a third of them actually are, you know, active on a daily basis or whatever, you know. But like they have over 10,000 creators that are ready to make content for free, versus Raid that has, granted, different player bases too. So I don't want to be super unfair, but like in terms of how many daily active users, but Raid has, I don't know, 30, you know, content creators or so, give or take, and they have to pay a ton of creators on the marketing side, you know? And I feel like there's got to be a little bit more of a happy medium there, you know? Basically getting free marketing through your organic creators is the best, right? It's the best because they don't pay. The creators win because they get exposure, they have early content, and they, whatever. And the developer wins because they don't have to go out there and activate as aggressively.
I think I think they're wising up to what you're saying, because when Blizzard launched Warcraft Rumble, they flew a bunch of us out to play the game, and they didn't pay us at all. They're like, hey, if you want a trip to Blizzard campus to check out the game we're about to launch, we'll fly you out. And just getting all of us creators there interacting with each other, now the juices start flowing. Like, hey, we should do a collab. Let's talk about this game. Like, let's start a clan. And they got so much free content just by, I mean, what was my trip in total? Probably like 2,500 or 3K it cost them to fly me out there and lodge me. Whereas it would have been way more expensive to get me to do that many videos and make a dedicated channel and everything if they just flat out paid me to do it. So I do think you're right. I think there's a happy medium there.
And think of the brand affinity you have. Like, I don't want to speak for you, but I just know, I know the creators that I know a lot of the creators that were on that activation or that trip. And if you look at that compared to your random developer that pays, here's $20,000, go sign 10 creators to do whatever, but versus flying you out there and having a little bit of that one-on-one time, it speaks volumes, because you can see it on the back end. You can see the creators are like, genuinely want to give the game the benefit of the doubt and the chance, and versus just like kind of collecting the paycheck, but like that personal really matters a lot, especially for creators. We're cooped up in our rooms all day. Getting out there and having a social experience is so much more meaningful than I think a lot of developers give credit for. But at the same time, to your point, Chosen, I think that a lot of them are coming around. It's a lot better than it used to be.
Go ahead, Ben. I was gonna let you jump in.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Brett, so what are your plans, how to attract content creators to cover your game? What is the main...
So the niche that we want to fill in the market, just as Fateless in general, is we want to lean kind of more in that direction of being more interactive with the community and really listening to people and doing cool events, like Dirk said. That's not a guarantee, but it's something that we're discussing. Like, we would love to do like a launch tournament, a launch event, interact with players and get a lot of footage from it and do all sorts of fun stuff like that. So we definitely want to lean in that direction of even if maybe there's no ROI on day one, we do want to play kind of the long game of cultivating a community that views us in a positive way and build it kind of organically.
Nice.
And Dirk, I'll let you jump in with and get another question or discussion topic if you wanted to. I didn't want to blow you off here for 30 minutes.
No, that's no problem. Yeah, I was just enjoying listening to it. Yeah, it was good. I guess the insight on what you're saying regarding like organic growth versus the just phoning it in. I do think one of the best things that is pretty popular right now as far as content creator programs is just giving them a ton of, you're essentially paying them in like gems and chickens to run your advertisement campaign for you. And but the people who do that, I don't know, they're just so eager to collect that reward. Like, that's worth so much to them, and they put out the best content for you versus like Dragonair. They spent a lot of money to get content creators, and I think a lot of them they're just phoning it in. And it's like when you think of the ROI in terms of like you're spending it's maybe 10K a month on someone to put out 4 videos for you versus give someone like 10,000 gems a month and they're doing 2 videos every day for you, and they're excited about it. Like, I mean, that's so only in this genre can you get away with that. So I think we definitely want to have a program like that, like a really nice content creator program, obviously, because a huge number of our staff is content creators too. So I think we have a good understanding of what people want there. But yeah, like you're saying, live events. It's definitely something I think we need to do. I mean, if anything, like, it's just gonna be fun. Every time we've all gotten together, just going to different conventions, whatnot, it's been a good, it's been a blast. So expanding that to our entire community is one of our goals. It's like one of our pillars is like, I guess, community first. Like, we want everyone to be involved in this. We want everyone to have a chance to hang out, talk about the games, have fun playing it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if like Ash, you're talking about you've done events like that. I guess just like the experiences or challenges with that.
I love live events, but they're tough. You know, they're obviously a lot more expensive, and they're you know, a lot of more moving parts. But it's something so cool about being able to be in person for those events. It adds something to it, you know. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing about Fateless is I mean, look at this YouTube channel that we're on right now. It's got last I checked, I don't have it up, but like, are we at 30 or 40,000 subscribers or something? I don't even know, but
I think it's like 31. I think it's like 31.
Yeah, so we just hit, yeah. So like, this is what Fateless has is unbelievable. It's a already interested here, months and months out from launch, interested fan base, you know, or people who want to play the game, want to get their hands on the game. A ready built-in community, which is almost unheard of in gaming, especially for your first title, right? So, I mean, I saw like Mad Capper has like, he's covering Fateless. The game is not even out yet, you know, but
there's a few of them that are, yeah.
A lot others. Yeah, I was going to say, but like there's Fateless dedicated or Godforge dedicated videos or channels out there, which is so awesome. With Dragonair, you know, they were in a position where they wanted to populate YouTube with Dragonair content, with high quality Dragonair content. And it wasn't necessarily about, and they didn't have that. They didn't have any pre-built fan base or creators that were interested in, you know, other than maybe a one-off, you know? So it's such a leg up from a marketing perspective that people are already interested. So like an event for a no-name game that just launched, like who's even going to want to watch it? But for Godforge, there's such a level of interest there and familiar faces that it's so amazing. And I mean, even Susie and stuff and yourself, Brad, like even the community teams are already known and respected and beloved in the community, you know? So I feel like it's a really, really special and unique opportunity, especially for your first title, that I'm totally on board, Dirk, man. I really want to, like I said, just this morning, I was like, we need an awesome launch event, you know? And I think it's just about having fun, really, you know, highlighting the game, having fun, and, you know, giving back, really, you know. And this always sounds very cliche, but that's kind of what it's all about. It's just giving back to the community and using whatever vehicle you have at your disposal to make that happen. And in Fateless, community, creators, so those are like two really strong points that are very unique.
That's what's so fun about kind of what's unique here is like internally we might be like, you know what, it's gonna be pretty expensive, we'll probably only like break even, but you know what, screw it, it's gonna be fun, let's do it. Like so that's what's so cool about our team is we'll be like, you know, we'll enjoy it, so why not?
It's cool, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to do some really cool stuff, you know.
Yeah, and like given the success of like I know like Hellhades.com always hosts a like a free-to-play run every year. And how many people were in the last one? Even like this many years in?
It's usually thousands. I want to say like 5,000 or 6,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Big. Yeah, so imagine something like that. That's like, I would say like sponsored or hosted by the game, or maybe even is like a feature of the game later on. But yeah, things like that where you can get, I guess, into it. And then, you know, like you said, initially you're gonna sponsor or have sponsor players come in and do it, but having that like organic like growth or even like a path for anyone to become like this featured player would be awesome. I know like Hearthstone early on in the days of like the esports scene for that, it was just like some of the pros, you're like, how is this guy even a pro? And it was just like they knew the right guy. They weren't the best people, but they were connected, and that was the tournament scene. But then they added in like the official like Blizzard, like Hearthstone, you know, yearly cup or whatever. And like that gave everyone a chance to compete on ladder and then earn their place like in the tournaments, go to playoffs, and then eventually, you know, anyone could become like the world champion. And like yeah, I think being able to build up to that would be like a dream. But you know, I guess you don't want to try to force it like other games. Like I'm talking about Hearthstone, and then in the same vein there was that Artifact game, the Dota card game. And that one, like they went so hard on the esports scene, and then the game just fizzled out like immediately.
When those esports scenes are kind of forced and just come out the gate with a massive budget, like Overwatch League, like was a massive financial sinkhole, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, we want to go a little bit more on the community side of it than like this massive billion-dollar scene.
It's best to be supportive of the competitive community and kind of follow, I think kind of follow their lead, because they're going to be the experts anyway on like what formats would make the most sense and what if you do want to lean into competitive versus I've been, without naming names, worked with a developer that basically was like, hey, we want to make esports, and they paid a ton of money to bring in the Team Liquids of the world and all the tier ones, and it was kind of it was kind of fine, but like it was a very small and niche audience, and even the competitive players were like, this isn't the right format or whatever. It's best to have to support whatever your community is doing, even if it means throwing a little bit of cash their way, and then growing and scaling that after you have like some proof of concept, I think, you know. But they're also, I think that it's pretty important to have some sort of standardized competitive mode, right? Especially in a game like Raid. Like, what is it going to be? What would esports look like? Like, I've got a
everyone
+4.
wants to see who these Krakens are.
That's true, but like I've got 4+4 fully empowered Star Stage Galatheers. So sit down, everybody. You know. But if there was some level of standardization, I think it'd be much more compelling, because then you yourself and the audience too could say, I could get there one day. You know, and I think that there's a little. I've never been as big in esports as it sounds like. Certainly, Chosen and Dirk have, but I think that's part of the magic, right? Is like kind of like, I play this game, I think I'm all right, but if I really put my mind to it, I think I could probably get there. You know, I think there's a little bit of that in there too, and I feel like when there's a paywall behind that, it kind of ruins a little bit of that allure, maybe. You know.
It's all about the dream. I know with the Olympics going on recently, I saw some crazy poll of like what percentage of people think they could be in the Olympics if they trained for 4 years, and it was some ridiculous percentage. I'm like, no, you all are delusional. So it's the same thing in
Want to be that Turkish sharpshooter, right?
It's the same thing where people are like, if I played StarCraft 5 hours a day, I'm pretty sure I could play an MLG.
What was the breakdancer's name again? Was it Raygun or what is it?
Raygun or whatever?
Yeah.
Raygun.
Maybe I could do that. I don't know.
That's what the normal person would look like.
Maybe you need that though, so the normal person thinks that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, one thing we always like to ask, kind of as we're getting close to time to wrap up, and we'll start with you, Ben, is our game is going to be based around like myths and legends and gods of all sorts of different cultures throughout kind of medieval type history. Is there a certain legend or myth or god or whatever that you would really love to see like as a legendary in the game, or you think would be a really cool hero for people to collect?
Oh my God, I should have prepared to this question.
No, we like to give people gut reaction. Kind of what comes to your mind first.
Glad you asked Ben first.
That's right.
Yeah, take your time. So it's not like a god or something, but it's like a superhero. But I really like Batman, so
yeah, or anything that like people have said, like the Braveheart movie, or Hercules or whatever. There's been all sorts of different, Athena, just any sort of mythological character you think would make a cool champion.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim, and I will take a second.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Wait, I thought you were gonna go first, man. Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm cheating.
God. I think, I don't know. I like really strong, like gothic or Halloween or dark vibes kind of thing. So like my favorite game growing up was Castlevania, so I'd like to see maybe a little I don't know if it's like God is necessarily, but maybe a little Dracula or a vampire theme or a
Simon
Grim Reaper or death type thing,
Okay, yeah, so the vampire stuff, Simon Belmont and
yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to see a little a little Transylvania dungeon or something. I don't know,
Belmonts are probably out of the question for now unless we get that Konami collab.
Yeah,
but Dracula is on the table.
There you go.
See,
very nice. Okay, and then Ben, did anything pop into your head? It's no big deal if not, by the way. It's totally cool.
Not really. I will stick with Batman. I really like the guy.
Okay.
I don't know if you have the IP, but
yeah, originally there was a goal of ours to partner with an IP, and I'll let the board say if they want to leak which ones were for consideration or not. But yeah, that was the goal originally, but we ended up kind of going in this direction of these public domain kind kind of legendary myths and legends that we could use within our game. So it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of have a little bit more creative control and all that.
It's funny you mentioned Batman. Like, yeah, early on we were looking at IPs. Obviously, you would always consider any big ones like DC or, you know, Marvel, anything like that. And DC has like a medieval, like dark fantasy version of their universe. And I thought that would have been such a cool. And at first I was kind of like,
that. Yeah.
I could never imagine, like, I mean, obviously you could easily make a gacha game. There's so many characters to do it in, but it's just like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of most of them. Like, you know, there's a couple cool ones, like Batman, I think is also the coolest one. But like, yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, hang on a second, this like medieval dark fantasy universe, like with these characters, start kind of doing your own spin on that. I think that would have been a great game to do something like that.
Yeah, Batman with like a sword and a shield.
Yeah, oh yeah. Just imagine like, like Batman, just like the cape, but then like his like black army looks like Guts from Berserk or something. Just yeah, I don't know. That could have been really cool.
Yeah, so regardless, Brad, I think that you made the right decision, right? Because look, having an IP, obviously it helps in terms of marketing, right? In day one, you will get like huge amount of viral downloads. But then the limitations in terms of marketing, and obviously you need to pay them probably around 50% of the revenue. So I think building an IP, definitely it's the hardest choice, but the wiser choice maybe.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
There's so much more flexibility, right? And going. At first, I was really excited about the IPs that were on the table, right? Potentially, especially given like my affinity growing up, you know, playing like some of those games and stuff. But I think that with Gods, Legends kind of vibe, you can go anywhere. Like we can go anywhere, you know, and you can have some regionality behind it, you know, like some Aztec god or something versus a Dracula type thing. Like there's so many different directions that you can move there, and you don't need to ask, to Bentley's point, for permission. And I've seen the numbers on what some of those were going to cost, to Bentley's point, and it's just a lot from a business perspective, to especially given all the strengths that Fateless has, right? Like the community that we're coming in with and stuff like that. It's a lot to, you know, at least in my opinion.
Well, and we were running into the issue of, you know, it's our launch title. So some of these IPs were a little bit hesitant. Like, hey, we haven't seen you execute anything yet. So if you want our IP, we're going to need to be paid a lot. So it's a little bit tougher, maybe until we have a track record, and then maybe we can possibly revisit some of those partnerships, or even do a live ops collab. Some of that stuff will be on the table.
Yeah. That's more on the table now. It seems like the live ops, just your collaborations, and then, which is sweet because there was always room to add another faction. And we talked about it, having like an 11th faction, of just being like they kind of just like the collab faction, or maybe, you know, if it's a bigger collab, it'd be its own faction, but there'd even be like a faction where it's like Batman, Jason Voorhees, like, you know, just anything just from all over, just like pop culture essentially, which could, I think, be a fun faction down the road. But yeah, for launch, really focus on the regionality. Are there any regions, Ben, that if you didn't have a specific mythological character picked out, any region that you want to make sure is in the game?
Egyptian, Aztec, yeah.
Probably Greece, or Greece, probably.
Okay, cool.
We didn't discuss product, right? But I think that the product is much more important than the IP, and maybe even more than the design, right? Because we just noticed Black Myth. Wukong was released, right? Not based on an IP or nothing. And it was one of the most successful launches, I think, in recent years. So definitely product will support everything that we'll do. In terms of marketing, content creation, like product, I think it's very high up there in terms of preferences.
Okay. Cool. Well, I know we're approaching that time. I want to thank you guys, Ben and Tim, for joining the Fateless podcast, and Dirk for joining me here from the Fateless team. We will link to their websites where you can check out everything you want to know about A2Z and AMG, two killer organizations here in the gaming industry making big waves. And we will see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Cheers.